Hi everyone, today, we're going to take a look at the 5 best permanent markers on the market for this year. First, we're going to show you our 5 best picks, then we'll talk about what you should look for before buying a best permanent markers. You can find timestamps and links to all the products we mention in this video down in the description below. Let's get started. If you have a drawing or message that needs to stand out strongly and last a long time, permanent markers are an excellent way to go. In this post, you'll see some of the best permanent markers available. We have been using permanent markers for a long time, so we know what to look for when buying them. We've used them practically in everyday life, as well as in our artwork. We've sifted through the most popular permanent markers to help you find the ones that will most likely meet your needs. This list will help you compare the features of each permanent marker to make your search clearer and easier. Number 5. Uniposca PC5M15C Permanent Markers. Uniposca paint marker pens are a bit of a deviation from standard permanent markers because they use paint-like ink. The formula is perfect for objects that aren't commonly colored with permanent markers. Features. The ink in these pens is permanent, but only on certain surfaces. These marker pens will work on a decent number of materials. Their ink formula is water-based, waterproof, and non-toxic. Different color assortments come in a variety of marker packs. No bleeding occurs due to the consistency of the paint-like ink. What consumers are saying. Buyers heavily promoted the ink, colors and pumping technology used for Uniposca paint marker pens. Nearly every feature was praised. A few buyers were frustrated with the amount of skill needed to use these markers. Things to love. Paper or porous surfaces won't be oversaturated due to the non-bleeding formula. The ink is vibrant and very compatible with materials like fabric and wood. Things to consider. It isn't easily removable and must even be scraped off certain surfaces. The permanency is variable and dependent on surface type. Conclusion. For an experience that mimics painting, use Uniposca paint marker pens. They are some of the best permanent fabric or wood markers available. You can easily decorate objects with this paint pen and confidently know that the paint-like ink will stay there forever. Number 4. Amazon Basics PY100201 Permanent Markers. Amazon is a very huge brand that has created its own massive product line, and they've even produced their own permanent markers. Features. Their permanent ink stands out strongly and boldly. The ink is certified as non-toxic. Fast-drying ink is immune to smudges or fading. These markers can be used on almost all surface types. What consumers are saying. Customers did not feel like these permanent markers could stand against other more well-known brands. Their permanency was questionable and unreliable. However, some customers turned over to these markers. Things to love. The ink formula is guaranteed to be safe and reliable. They can be used for so many different things because of how well they work with surfaces. Things to consider. The ink often bleeds through paper. Conclusion. Amazon Basics permanent markers may not be a great replacement for other brands. However, if you want a black permanent marker to use for surfaces like metal or wood, they aren't the worst choice to make. Durable fine point tip. Amazon Basics permanent markers feature rich pigment and a firm, fine point tip that delivers sharp legible lines and precise marks. Bold color. Each permanent marker comes filled with richly pigmented ink. Available in an assortment of colors and pack sizes. Number 3. Ohuhu Y380400-01 Permanent Markers. Artists with a knack for coloring will have a very fun time using Ohuhu markers. Features. The ink is permanent and fade-resistant. The ink dries fast, preventing unwanted smudges. Each of these markers come with 2 tips that have different sizes. The ink is alcohol-based and consists of vibrant pigments. Different tip sizes have different line styles and effects on artwork, come in a wide variety of colors. What consumers are saying. Those who purchased this product were primarily artists. Many of them were happy about how the ink flowed and how much fun it was to use these markers. For the price, these markers had a lot of value for artistic individuals. Things to love. They have two tips on both ends, making them practical and convenient. They serve as a great enhancement to hand-drawn artwork. Things to consider. They're mostly usable on paper and not many other surfaces. There's no mention of their toxicity. Conclusion. At a reasonable price, Ohuhu markers are some of the best cheap and permanent marker pens for artists. These double-tipped markers will entertain almost anyone who uses them. They'll undoubtedly enhance your hand-drawn artwork. Number 2. Copic SB12 Permanent Markers. Although a bit on the more expensive side, Copic markers are a great option for artists who want to color with permanent markers. Features. Have a non-toxic ink formula that is alcohol-based. The marker ink can be refilled. The tips on these markers are replaceable. Paper doesn't become soaked by the ink formula because it isn't water-based. Ink flows smoothly and consistently. What consumers are saying. Most buyers were artists interested in coloring their work. They were satisfied with the visual results they ended up with. Some say that there is a bit of a learning curve because they aren't totally easy to use. A few buyers also felt like the color options were limited. Things to love. Because the ink dries acid-free, paper doesn't get ruined. Perfect for coloring hand-drawn artwork. Things to consider. Copic markers aren't effective on many surfaces. Conclusion. With an ink formula that doesn't ruin paper, Copic markers are an excellent tool for most artists. They require skill to use, but this leads to the high-quality results you can get from them. Number 1. Sharpie 1812419 Permanent Markers. Sometimes it's best to be safe by relying on Sharpie markers, which are an iconic and reliable standard for marker users. Features. Sufficiently permanent on most surfaces and materials. Fast-drying ink won't fade or wash away easily. The color of the ink is vibrant, vivid, and eye-catching. Excellently designed marker tips help create detailed lines. Come in a wide variety of colors. What consumers are saying. Consumers love Sharpie permanent markers and consider them a reliable necessity. They praise their versatility and usefulness. Consumers who don't like Sharpie markers are often hard to find because they're quite rare. Things to love. Sharpie markers are very permanent and can be used on many surfaces. The ink stands out strongly. Things to consider. Certain types of Sharpie markers have ink that contains xylene, which is extremely toxic to inhale or ingest. The ink will often bleed through paper. Conclusion. Sharpie provides some of the best and strongest black permanent markers on the market. Every other color available from this brand is equally strong and satisfying. Sharpie is a classic option that will always be useful. Making the decision. The type of permanent markers you choose will depend on what you intend to do with them and what surfaces you want to use them on. By knowing this ahead of time, your purchase will satisfy you more. Sharpie markers are still undoubtedly one of the most reliable brands of permanent markers out there. For markers that work on both light and dark surfaces, choose Frenda Gold and Silver Metallic marker pens. Permanent markers can be safe, fun, and visually appealing. They serve an important purpose, both practically and artistically. They'll always have a place in offices or art studios.